I am a phony, a fake, a fraud. How can I even call myself a booktuber if I haven't read these Booktube Darlings? In this reading vlog, I'm going to be reading these 4 books, which are Bookstagram and Booktube favourites, which I haven't yet read. I am currently rotting at home with some sort of post-COVID series of infections, and so it's time to bring out the big guns. It's time to bring out the heavy hitters that I haven't yet read. So I've got 4 books on my list to read in this vlog. The first is Yellowface by Rebecca R F Kuang. This is a book about an aspiring author who one evening witnesses the death of her friend and successful author, and then proceeds to steal a manuscript of her latest work and pass it off as her own. And one lie leads to another, to another, to another, and she ends up in a real pickle. So this is Yellowface by Rebecca F. Kuang. The next book that I have to read in this vlog is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Jenkins Reid. This is about a reclusive Hollywood starlet in her later years reflecting on her life and loves. And I understand it's kind of twisty, and I've never read a Jenkins Reid, and I'm really excited to try this one out. I also have A Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern on my hit list for this vlog. This is about a magical circus. I know nothing more about it, and the blurb doesn't give anything much else away, so but I'm happy to go into it like that. I read The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern and didn't love that, so I'm going to reserve judgment until I finish this one. And last, but by no means least, is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is the epitome of dark academia. It is one of my book friends' favourite books, and so Rianne, this is for you, and this is where I'm going to start. I have finished The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and as predicted, this was an absolute stonker. I had a really great time reading this book. It's about our main character, Richard, written from his perspective, and he's from California, from a not very wealthy background, and he manages to get himself into an elite college in Vermont. He manages to get himself onto an even more elite course, studying the classics and Greek, with a select group of pupils and an eccentric professor. And we learn what happens to this group of students, and in their pursuit of higher learning they get into quite a bit of trouble, and that's what unfolds in this book. So first page we know that somebody dies, and then we get the backstory that leads up to that and the repercussions afterwards and the whole mess that they create, essentially. Realistically, I was totally expecting this to be a banger, and it was. And so as I was reading, I was trying to be curious about what it is about this particular book that is so beloved, that makes it such a darling, and why is it that people like my friend Rianne, whose favourite book this is, has spent the rest of her reading life searching for something as good or better and has failed, has never found anything to match this? Why is this the OG, the pinnacle of dark academia? What is it about this particular book that is so special? And I think it's the intimacy with which you spend time with these characters. So although it has the potential to be a mystery, what happens is not mysterious. We are with the characters as things are happening, and we are party to everything that our main character Richard, who's in the thick of things, is party to. But the way
in which she includes you as a reader in what's going on and their conversations is really, I think, what makes this quite special. And she achieves that, I think, in a few different ways. The first is the way that she creates this sense of place. She does not miss describing even the most minute detail, but only stuff that's relevant. So it's not tedious, it's not boring, but she describes everything that you need to see to have a really strong grounding in the sense of place, whether that's in an untidy student's bedroom. She remembers to describe how it smells, how it looks, what the light is like, the dust particles, like everything, what people are wearing. So that really strong sense of evoking place gives you a really vivid scene in which to allow the action to unfold. The next thing that she does really well is dialogue. The dialogue is so sharp and so authentic. I literally felt like in my mind's eye I was looking from character to character as these conversations were happening, and the characters are so well formed that this all combines to create this incredibly intimate reading experience, essentially. And because we're written from Richard's point of view, we're experiencing things as he would experience them. We're feeling in on things and included when he's feeling included, and we're feeling shut out and betrayed when he realizes he hasn't got the full picture. It's a really authentic and, like I say, intimate reading experience, I think, and I think for me that's what made this such a special read. The only thing that I didn't love was I found the very ending a bit sentimental, and it didn't quite chime with the rest of the book for me. These characters are incredible, so incredible. I'll come on to this. I had a lot of fun imagining who I would cast as each of these characters. They're so three-dimensional, but they're arseholes. You're not meant to like them. One of the things that I particularly enjoyed, maybe not enjoyed, but appreciated from my reading experience of this book was that it really shines a light onto the shadow side that we all have within us as human beings. Essentially, that's what this book is about. It's about a group of privileged, but normal privileged young people. She really exposed and leaned into that shadow side, those acts and motivations that we're all sort of capable of in the right circumstances as human beings, but we don't like to think of ourselves as that person. There was a really beautiful sentence. I mean, her writing is beautiful and describes really toxic, horrid stuff, where she's talking about somebody, what am I saying? Where she's talking about somebody who on the outside seems to be a very kind person, but actually those acts of kindness are rooted in wanting to be seen to be kind. And, you know, all through that there were these truth bombs dropping that were making me think, God, like, is that me? Like, am I the villain? And no, there have certainly been times when I've done something nice for somebody because I want to be seen to be nice, but there are equally plenty of times when I've been kind for the sake of being kind. But it made me question myself a lot because, like I say, that she's taken to the extreme something that we could all on a lesser level relate to. Yeah, really clever. But what was I talking about? I was talking about the ending. I thought the ending was overly sentimental, and that sort of took the edge off it for me and took it down to a 4.75. My partner's just bringing a very muddy dog by the window for me to look at. Hello puppies! They're just back from their walk and are bogging because they found puddles. Yeah, a slightly overly sentimental ending to what had been quite a straight talking exposition of the darker side of the human soul, I guess. But yeah, normally I would be really up for that, like tying everything up really neatly at the end. That's normally my jam, but for some reason it didn't, for me it didn't fit with the rest of the book, so just took the edge off. It took it down to a 4.75 instead of a 5-star read for me. But yeah, this is a really super book. If, like me, you are one of the few people on the internet that hasn't yet read this, don't put it off. It's not an overhyped book. It legitimately earns its place as a YouTube darling. Now, as I was saying, as I inferred as I was talking just then, I had a fantastic time imagining my cast for an imaginary adaptation of this. And so, because I've been ill this week and have had some time off work, I've had too much time on my hands, I have made a trailer. But my favourite thing, and where this started, was that I could not stop imagining two of these characters, the twins, Camilla and Charles, as our very own booktubes, Dakota Warren and Jack Ben Edwards. That's where this started. So they are my twins. But for the rest, I'll let you watch the trailer. I hope that that has whetted your appetite for The Secret History if it wasn't already. So next up, I think I am going to pick up The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I mentioned earlier that I didn't love The Starless Sea by the same author, but I have high hopes for this. I am in the mood for something a bit whimsical and hope that this delivers. Isn't it about time I gave you a bit of an update on how I'm getting on with The Night Circus? Probably a good idea because I'm most of the way through it. So I should give you some not very initial thoughts before I finish it all together. First thing to say is I'm having a different reading experience to when I read The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, same author. That plot completely lost me. It was so abstract. I had no idea what was going on. This is still fantastical and whimsical and draws on magic meeting reality, but in a much more understandable and accessible way. So from that point of view, this is much more of a success. I can see why this is a really beloved book. It is full of whimsy and imagination. However, I'm a bit bored. This very much might be a reflection of my frame of mind at the moment. I'm not 100% and I'm distracted by a lot of other things, so it might be the case that this is just right book, wrong time. It is beautiful, and when I say I'm a bit bored, I'm sort of a little way from, maybe a couple of hundred pages from the end, and I'm thinking, oh, how can I get through this quickly? That's my state of mind with reading it, which isn't ideal really. I do want to finish it, obviously, aside from the fact that I'm pathologically unable to DNF books. I do want to finish it and see where this goes, but the problem is that we're taking a really long time to get there. So the premise, without giving too many spoilers or any spoilers away, is that we have two main characters, and from a young age they're told separately
that they are going to have to compete against an opponent, an unknown opponent at an unknown time in the future, in a context, a magical contest. And so they spend their youth training and preparing for that. They don't know who each other are or when the contest starts, etc. And eventually our night circus becomes the setting for this. The night circus is stunning, absolutely stunning. The imagination that has gone into creating this world is just is really, really impressive. But we've had a lot of book for that still going on. The competition is still getting going. I want it now. Like, okay, you know, I'm ready, I'm beyond ready to get to that point in the book. Like I say, I'm finding it to be longer than it needs to be. However, my mind's eye is a really beautiful place to be reading this book, so it's, you know, it's not the worst thing at all. It is really lovely, and I'm following the plot fine despite the many points of view. It's a lot more, it's a lot less abstract than The Starless Sea, but still just as fantastical and beautiful. So that's where I'm at with the Night Circus. I'm really not far off. I hope to finish it today or tomorrow. Yeah, so unless anything dramatically changes between now and the end, I'm probably going to settle on the fact that this was a worthwhile read, but it's not going to be an all-time favourite. Hello, I have an update for you. I finished The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I've had an interesting time thinking about my reflections on this book as I was showering. Maybe too much information. I think I can see it from two perspectives. I think I had my own personal reading experience, but I think I also have a slightly different opinion of it in a more general sense. I'm going to try and explain myself better than that. So in terms of my personal reading experience, and I accept I may have done this book a disservice by reading it for a vlog, which, you know, I haven't been rushing it or pushing myself particularly, but there is more of a sense of kind of having a specific, it's for a project, right? So I have a set of books and I want to get through them all. So it may be that I've done this book a bit of a disservice from that point of view, but my overall sense was this was beautifully crafted magic. The Circus nailed its brief. The imagination, the whimsy, the concept building, the imagery was all bang on, exactly what I'd hoped for. So the circus and the creation of that and the magic that came from that was lovely. However, for a fairly long book, I felt that the plot wasn't enough to hang all of that on. So for me, I needed either a slightly shorter book or a more complex plot. However, thinking about it from a recommendation point of view, thinking about it from a bibliotherapy point of view, I can see this being a book that I will recommend often. If you are somebody who is, and let's face it, we all are, the world is burning. If you are somebody who is looking to escape reality and spend time somewhere that's safe, I mean, there are stakes in this, but they're not, it's not like edge of your seat kind of anxiety inducing at all. So that's what I mean by safe. So if you're looking for somewhere safe, somewhere magical, somewhere really beautiful, somewhere really clearly escapist to spend time, then Between the Covers of this book would be a great place to go. So if I had all the time in the world, and this is what I mean by I may have done it a disservice by reading it for a vlog, if I had all of the time in the world and could just leisurely pick it up and put it down and wasn't under any kind of sense of time pressure, I can see this being a much more enjoyable read, because I think I said in an earlier clip, my mind's eye was a really lovely place to be whilst reading this book. I just found I needed a bit more pace, or a bit more plot, or things to just move a bit quicker, essentially. But I can see it being a real balm for somebody who wants to spend some time in a gentle world with magic and hope and goodness. Then I can see myself recommending this. I can also see myself rereading it. I would seek out this book if I was looking for those things. So it was kind of a hit and a miss for me on the Night Circus in the end, but definitely better than The Starless Sea. So if you're somebody who's read The Starless Sea and was put off by Erin Morgenstern, don't be. I'd really recommend trying The Night Circus. I have picked up Yellowface next. I think because this is a newer book of the books that I'm picking up in this vlog, and I notoriously really don't enjoy books that have been overhyped and will avoid them like the plague, my expectations of this are probably quite low, and I hope they're going to be exceeded. I've read a few chapters and it's really good. I hope I enjoy it. Obviously you don't want to pick up a book expecting not to, but I really hope that it continues. June, the main character, who's our narrator and who is clearly going to be an unreliable narrator, is absolutely bang on, because the way that she's justifying things to herself and to you as her audience is really compelling, but then you're also in the back of your mind being like, hang on, no. So yeah, I'm really enjoying her as a character. So that's the reading update. It's Saturday and this evening I'm going to a 30th birthday party, and the dress code is shit shirts. So I have a spectacular shirt to wear, which I will try and remember to show you later, and I hope that I can manage a couple of hours at a party because my energy levels are still really low. Yeah, still absolutely hanging, but I really want to go and have a nice time and try and get back to some sort of sense of normality. So yeah, I'll try and remember to show you a bit of that if it's appropriate, and yeah, I'll let you know how I get on with Yellowface. I am all ready to go out to my 30th birthday party, but I thought I'd try and show you my shit shirt. Ta-da! And made even more shit by the fact that it doesn't actually line up when you do the buttons up. So yeah, brilliant. It couldn't, oh sorry Brennan, couldn't be more perfect really. Woo-hoo. Good morning. I don't think I maybe took too much footage of the party last night, but we had a really nice time. I think mine was a spectacularly shit shirt. Lots of other people just went for tasteful shit shirts, but mine was proper shit. But yeah, we had a really good time. There was karaoke. It was somebody from my singing group's 30th birthday party, so it was really lovely. Today is a beautiful day. The sun is out. We have a day of summer here in the UK, and we're going to spend it indoors. So we've got a family wedding coming up in a couple of weeks and Duncan needs to get a suit. So that's our plan for today. We're going to go over to the mall and do a bit of suit shopping.
Hello. I have just been up to my mum and dad's allotment to do some watering. It's a very, very, very hot day. And I've picked some beans and some tomatoes. It's just occurred to me that I don't think I've updated you very much about Yellowface. In fact, I'm not sure whether I've talked about it at all. But fortunately, so I finished it. It was a really quick, I read it in a couple of days, really quick read, really compelling. I don't think I've got any particular hot takes on top of what's already been said. I don't think I've got anything significant to add to the discourse on this, and it's made me think actually maybe this was a really bad idea for a reading vlog, because it's kind of boring because I'm reading books that, you know, people know an awful lot about already. Anyway, we're in it now. So Yellowface, yeah, I thought it was a really well written, really good book. The thing that I think clinched it for me, so I read Babel and didn't enjoy that. I found her character writing, R F Kuang's character writing in Babel, it wasn't for me. I found the main character to be contrary and whiny and irritating. I wasn't invested in any of the characters in that at all. But oh, hang on. Oh, we're okay. There's a van going past at speed, but fortunately didn't need to go past my door. What was I saying? Yeah, the characters in Babel, the main character I found infuriatingly contrary. But that character writing style really worked in Yellowface, because we had an already, you weren't meant to like our main character June. You weren't meant to sort of buy into, I guess it worked, it was the flip side. You weren't, in Babel you're meant to like the main character, flawed though he is, whereas in Yellowface you're not meant to like June, but you do. And somehow that flip made her writing style work for June. She was a really, really great character to read about. You know, it was a it was a study in unreliable narrator writing. So yeah, enjoyed it from that point of view. Posty's back. It's giving me a look because I'm talking to my phone. What else to say? It was thought-provoking. A lot of the reviews have talked about how this was an expose on the flaws of the publishing industry, and yes, it did do a lot of that, but I haven't seen people talk so much about the exposure of the flaws in us as reviewers and people who talk about books on the internet and people who have influence over what gets hyped and what doesn't. You know, we have a really significant part to play in that. It's not just about publishers and authors, it's very much about us too, and our responsibility to ensure that we're being conscientious consumers of literature, I suppose. So yeah, that was interesting. It did raise questions for me. I take a real interest in, you know, professional and personal interest in issues around equality, diversity and inclusion. And I quite often reflect on whether I'm the best person to insert myself into those kinds of arenas, because I'm not an own voice. I'm a cisgender, straight, white woman, somewhere between working and middle class, you know. But for me, that means that I have a lot to learn and understand, and so I have more work to do, and want to dedicate and invest time in that to be a good ally and a good human being. But it does beg the question of, you know, whose stories are whose to tell, whose work is this to do in progressing these issues. I think about that a lot, and I don't think there's anything it's not something that's got an easy answer, but it's a good thing to chew on. So it was a thought-provoking read and really well written. June was a really enthralling character to read, and it was a real page turner. So yeah, Yellowface was a success. Like I said, I don't think I've got any hot takes, but it was a good read. I've started Taylor Jenkins reads Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've had that on audiobook this morning on my dog walk, and I'm doing adulting today, just running errands and stuff and cleaning and bits. So I've been listening to that, and it's lovely. Yeah. Like I said, this might end up being a bit of a boring vlog, but hey ho, 'tis what it is. But 1 book to go, 3 books down, 1 to go.
Again, I finished The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This was lovely. It's an epic love story across a lifetime, disguised amongst Evelyn's 7 husbands, with a little twist at the end just for pure entertainment's sake. It was really well written. It was sort of page turning. It was very undemanding of me as a reader, but entertaining, so generous in that way. It was great. It was everything everybody says it is. It was wonderful. I think this would make an exceptional film adaptation. However, the only way that I will accept this is if somebody invents a time machine and Sophia Loren can play Evelyn Hugo through the years. I will accept nobody else. Yeah, it was wonderful. It's been a bit of a weird reading vlog. I felt like it's been a bit flat, and I suspect it's because although I'm reading books that everybody widely enjoys, they're incredibly hyped, and there wasn't an awful lot that I didn't know about these books going into them. Apart from the night circus, I guess, but there wasn't anything in there that was particularly revelatory. Yeah, I maybe knew too much just from seeing these books do the rounds, and doesn't it beg the question? It's really made me think and reflect on that sense of how we steward these books when they come into the world as reviewers and as people who post about them on social media. It's great to see people excited about books, and books that are really widely celebrated. But does that mean that in making them these rising stars they somewhat lose their shine? I'd love to hear what you think about this. You know, are you somebody who loves to jump on a bandwagon when a book comes out? Are you the person that's reading all the new releases? Are you somebody like me who will steer really clear of something that you think you're going to really like if it's massively hyped? Yeah, what are your thoughts? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. So we've come to the end of this reading vlog. I'm really pleased to have read all of these wonderful books and to understand what the rest of the world loves about them. The only one I think I can see really sticking with me is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. That's left a significantly lasting impression. And whilst I enjoyed the others, I can't see them being all-time favourites. And as I said, I wonder if that would be different if I read them before I knew too much. So thank you so much for being here. I'm very grateful if you spent this time with me, and I'll see you again soon in another video.